Hello everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Playlist Club. I'm Sandy along with my co-host
Brianna,
Mike King,
and Nancy.
In today's episode, we'll learn more about what is K-pop and the different generations of amazing and inspiring K-pop idols. We hope that you learn more about K-pop and discover new groups to stan. With that being said, let's start that playlist. Okay, we'll eventually get that. Hello everyone, our main question for today is what is K-pop? Of course, I'm going to answer this question in a generalized way, but I hope by the end of our episode that you will all find a new way to define K-pop and what K-pop means to you. So K-pop is the abbreviation for Korean popular music, which originated in South Korea in the early 1990s. This musical genre does not only include pop music, but it also includes rock, hip-hop, and electronic music. This musical genre is also heavily influenced by Western music, especially American pop culture. K-pop is essentially the driving force of entertainment companies such as SM, JYP, and YG Entertainment. These entertainments then train individuals to become idols that will maximize their talents in singing, rapping, and dancing. This is a huge part of the South Korean market and has expanded internationally over the years. I hope that answers the question of what is K-pop. I also think that it's very important as we discuss K-pop to talk about idols, as we are now entering the fourth generation of K-pop idol groups. This next segment is going to be fun and educational as we discuss the different generations of idols and prominent idols from each generation. So on to the first generation of K-pop idols.
Thank you, Sandy, for giving us a brief history of when K-pop started and what it is. As K-pop fans, I think that it is important to know the history just because K-pop isn't the same anymore. It changed and evolved over time. So with this being said, I will be starting with first generation. Generation 1 started in 1992 and ended in about 1999. The first group to debut in 1992 when K-pop began was Sotajian Boys. They had their debut stage on a music show. And for a fun fact, if you know the former CEO of YG Entertainment, he was actually part of this boy group. So if you didn't know, now you know. And some things to define this generation was that because this genre of music was new during this time, there wasn't really a set list or set criteria of how K-pop should look like and sound like, and so a lot of the music and a lot of the artists were new. Also, there wasn't a lot of autotune, over-the-top costumes, and even special effects. If you go back and watch their older stages, I'd say that you could see these, but then it wasn't too flashy, too over the top, or too extra. I do think that because now technology plays a role in the industry, you definitely see a lot more special effects and all that. Also, during this time, a lot of the music were made up of catchy tunes, a lot of fun dance moves, and even the artists during this time, I think talent was important. And also, each group had their own image. You had a cute image, the edgy, sweet, or like the innocent, which oftentimes we see SES as innocent, but you also see boy groups like H.O.T., Shinhwa, Shesky, and all that. So I think even though they have their own image, they wrote songs about society, how they're feeling during that time, and even like oppression, freedom. So a lot of the songs they wrote related to that time. Impacts or contributions that they made in the K-pop industry, I would say is for sure number one, they're the founders of K-pop. And also they started the Hallyu wave, which is also known as the Korean wave. Sandy, would you like to talk more about that?
Oh, yeah, of course, I definitely can. I can definitely explain what the Hallyu wave means. So the Hallyu wave is a Chinese term. It's translated to Korean wave, and this is the global popularity of South Korea's economy that's exporting pop culture, entertainment, music, TV dramas, and like movies internationally. So if you're watching Netflix, you will see a lot of Korean dramas are on there now. Besides that, Korean entertainment shows like Running Man and Knowing Brothers are like super international now. A lot of people know what you're talking about as you mentioned Running Man or anything like that. So yeah, that's essentially what Hallyu wave is.
Yeah, which was pretty important during this time just because K-pop became a new thing. So a lot of people automatically knew who they were, especially in Korea. I think of like just all the fandom and all that. Prominent groups that debuted during this time or during this generation are Sotaji and Boys, HOT, SES, God. They're really popular when they came out. Think Baby Vox, and also Sheskis. And they were really prominent groups, but then you also see fan wars happening. Like HOT was very popular, Sheskis were really popular, and so you have a lot of fan wars during this time, just because fans believe that one group is better than the other, and vice versa. But you still see it today too. And so, what were some of our personal favorites?
Oh, that is hard to say, Nancy. But I really like Sotaji and the Boys. Of course, they're the first boy group, as you mentioned. Their song "Come Back Home," still a bop. I definitely enjoyed SES music and HOT and God.
Nice. For me, I also, like we said on the last podcast, I was really into SES. I also like HOT, Shinhwa, One Time, and
Oh, One Time is good.
Yeah.
Forgot about One Time.
Yeah, I think my all-time favorite, definitely HOT, hands down. Shinhwa too. HOT and Shinhwa.
Yeah, I would say Shinhwa for me. I know they came after because they were part of the same entertainment as HOT, but you know that song "Perfect Man," like it just it hits every time.
Right?
I actually danced to that before. Perfect Man.
It's a fun song.
It's a
I did
good
it for my sister's wedding, and it was
Yeah.
it was fun.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yep. I killed it.
Didn't BTS cover it too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shinhwa, and they also cover Sotaji and the Boys. Yeah, they cover that too.
All right, that's it for Generation 1. And so if you know anyone from Generation 1, please let us know. So now my king will lead you guys into Generation 2.
Okie dokie. Going on to Generation 2, it was approximately from 2000 to 2010. What really defines this generation? I would say one of them was having co-ed groups. There was quite a few of them. Some examples are Classic Y, Urban Zakaba, and Sunny Hill. And Classic Y, they're actually still together today. They're a project actually, but they're still together and they're still producing music, so definitely check them out. And also their style, or like their sense of fashion that they gave their artist, they had very funky themed uniform outfits. And by that I mean, like, there was a period where they were wearing colorful pastel pants, like very pastel pants. I'm just like, not my cup of tea, but okay. Their hairstyle also, it went from like Generation 1, kind of like that animated hairstyle, to F4. If you remember F4, they had curly brown hair, or like their hair was long to almost their shoulder, but it was like flat and it's not as spiky. And then for the makeup, it was very neutral. It seemed like they didn't have makeup on, or they had like very vibrant makeup on. And they were also very tan. If you go watch their music videos during that time, they were tan compared to like now, where they're super pale. And also during this time, they did a lot of experimenting and testing on music sound, so just testing to see what would fit during this time and what everybody would like. It was very, very fresh. It's not like your typical westernized kind of music. It was very funky. It was very, very unique. And as well, they didn't have as much groups debuting during this time. It wasn't as competitive, but it was still pretty competitive. As for their impact and contribution to the industry during this period, they were expanding the Hallyu wave like majorly, and by doing so, they were promoting in other countries. Big names like Boa and Big Bang, they were able to promote in different countries such as Japan, China, and the US. Japan is a huge market that everybody wanted to get into, and as well as USA.
I think also prominent to like USA market would be like Wonder Girls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But then kind of like you said with Wonder Girls, they actually had an English album out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
I remember.
And they had a lot of Asia tours too during this time. And there's quite a few prominent groups from this generation, like a lot. I'm gonna name some of them off, BoA, Seven, Rain, Super Junior, DBSK, TVX or TVXQ, Big Bang, 2PM, SNSD, Wonder Girls, Kara, 21, Shiny, Infinite, Beast, Tiara, and IU.
All household names.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say these artists are the ones that brought their company up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, while I would say like Generation 1 helped them get a running start, a lot of these artists established them as entertainment companies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say, like, I think you had TVXQ or DBSK, like, during their time, they were the K-pop group of the time, and like they had such a large fan base too. So I think you're correct in saying that like they like helped establish their entertainment companies.
And I think of like Beast and Cube Entertainment too. Like I would say Beast was one of the better well-known group
from Cube. Yeah. Along with that, that's also like an inspiration for like the next generation to like become artists. So what's your personal favorites from this generation?
It's hard to pick. I feel like it's hard to pick because like we grew up listening to a lot of these artists every day. But like if I were to like pick one, I would pick Super Junior. Like I said in like a previous episode, they're the reasons why I started listening to K-pop. They had like so many iconic songs. I think one of their most viral ones was Sorry Sorry.
Yes.
Everybody knew it. Everybody was doing the dance. The dances were simple and catchy, and like it's something that like caught on really quick. And I think that's something that's like another thing that defined this generation, is that the dances are easy to copy. And I think that's why, I'm not saying it's easy to copy, but the moves, there's always like one prominent dance move that everybody knows, right? Like for it was Sorry Sorry, but for like
Beast, you have your Shock.
So like
Infinite.
So like, but like I would say my personal favorite was Super Junior. Like they will forever hold a special place in my heart.
Yeah. I don't know if you realize, but I honestly believe 2009 was the year for K-pop.
Oh my gosh, yes.
All those hit songs in 2009. Because Sorry Sorry was a 2009 song. They were making it big. 2009 was the year of like debuts and just having hit songs.
Yeah.
This era too, like was competitive. Like it was just songs after songs, and it's just like when they won those music shows, it was like, oh, the numbers were so close. It's like, who is gonna win?
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
But yeah, I would say Beast. I love Infinite. I love Super Junior. Rain, his what is it? Rainism. But Beast will always be my favorite during this time.
Do you have a favorite song?
Too hard. But I was just listening to Oasis the other day.
That's such a good song.
Which one?
Oasis.
Oh yeah.
So much memories. Dude, like this was such like a good time. Like it was good music.
Nostalgic.
What about you, Sandy? Who's your favorite?
Of course I mentioned, but 21, one of my favorite girl groups of all time. I also really like Shiny because that's the group that got me really into like Korean music and K-pop. I enjoy Big Bang's music. You know, all I can say is that this is a generation where my heart really is. I enjoy all the groups from second generation, and I have so much appreciation for groups that I didn't like in the second generation. Now I have a lot of appreciation for the music, like Girls' Generation. I did not like Girls' Generation when we were still in the second generation, but now I have a lot of appreciation for the music. But yeah, really, I enjoy listening to most artists from this generation. What about you, my king?
For me, definitely Infinite, like I mentioned in the last episode. Tiara and I would say 2PM. I listen to them quite a bit, but you know what hurts the most is when they're at their peak and then the company stops promoting them. Come on. Hello, they're at their peak.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I can add so much onto 2PM. My heart was, like Nancy said, like a lot of people liked 2PM at the time. I was one of those people. 2PM was my heart when one of the members left.
J Park.
I was like, I don't know if I should
say his name.
But yeah, when J Park left and I was waiting for his chance to come back, I think I was so heartbroken after Heartbeat that he didn't have a return. I slowly stopped listening to 2PM. And so I think the last song I ever heard from them was like Heartbeat, or was like I'll Be Back, and that's like the last song I listened from them.
Yo, that was like the first time I ever cried for a K-pop group. Like, I was just like so heartbroken. I'm like, oh, like why? I get what he did, but
hey, but hey, he came back so much stronger. So
that's true. Anyways, this is where I'm gonna wrap up Generation 2, and we're gonna head on over to Generation 3 with Sandy. Sandy, take it away.
Okay, this is the generation that I would like to call very visual and very international. So this generation started approximately in 2011 and ended approximately in like 2018. But yeah, what I mean by visuals is that everyone from this generation is quite attractive. I'm not saying that the generations before didn't have attractive members or groups. It's that I find visuals be an important aspect to this generation as well as talent. And there's two meanings to international. So the first meaning by international is that this is the generation that was able to break the barriers and enter the US music market. Of course, I don't want to discredit second generations for their attempts. I do believe they paved the path to the US music market, and the third generation was able to break that barrier, so that now when you go to stores like Target and Walmart, you do find K-pop albums. And the second meaning to international is that there are more idols of different ethnicities in these groups. For example, you have Sorn of CLC and Bam Bam of GOT7, who are Thai individuals working in a K-pop group in the Korean music industry. I do find this generation to be less conservative, so it's a little more modernized now, and so the musicality is more creative, brave, and expressive when it comes to the lyrics and dance. There is also more a combination of techno, rock, and ballad that gets released during this generation. So with that being said, this is where I would like to say that idols from like 2011, such as like BAP and like A-Pink in 2012, this is where they have like this weird phase where they're still stuck in like second generation fashion and music. I don't know if you girls agree with me on that, but they're like transitioning out of that, but it's so weird because you kind of don't know where to put them.
Yeah, they're like the transition phase where you're not really sure where they should be because they're at the very end of Gen 2, but like super pre of Gen 3. So it's like, where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you girls remember how BP, like their first outfits.
Oh my gosh, yes. All of them have blonde hair too.
Oh yeah, I don't. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I forgot about that.
I think that's what made them really stick out though in the market.
But yeah, as I mentioned, this is a generation that was able to break the barriers. So you do see more Asian representation in the music market here in the United States. Also, this is the generation where there's more and more world tours. And this is something I felt like second generation didn't do enough of. And so I'm really happy that third generation was able to do more world tours. And now they're just not going to the East Coast and the West Coast, but you definitely see them coming to the Midwest. So we've had, the opportunity to see some of our favorite artists perform.
Yeah, I would also like to add on with the tours. In the second generation and first generation, like the company had to have a lot of money in order to host those tours for their artists. Whereas like now, there's actually like third party or like second party companies that could help the company host those tours and be able to book those venues for them. So that's also another thing that we got to see in Generation 3.
Yeah, and to end this off, I do want to list some of the prominent idol groups from this generation. For girl groups, I would say Blackpink, Twice, and Red Velvet. Of course, there are more girl groups than that represent the third generation. These are just some prominent names. And for boys, I definitely think you have to put BTS, 17, and EXO on this list. There are more boy groups. These are just, prominent names from this generation. And my last question is to you girls, who are your favorite groups from this generation?
I think you already know BTS. And I would say BTS. I didn't really listen to a lot of third gen. Yeah,
I agree. Me personally, it's not that I don't like BTS's new music as much. I do prefer a lot of their old stuff, but I would put BTS on this list. I also got into 17 like super late. I think they were like 2-3 years into their careers before I even started listening to their music and like actually enjoying their music. I also like EXO, but then I only liked their first album, so I can't really say much, but I did enjoy some of their current music.
Okay, actually I take it back. I was really into EXO and not really into BTS, and then I think EXO got to the point where like some of the music were okay, and then I got introduced to BTS and just hit from there. So I lied. It was EXO and then now it's BTS.
For me, for Generation 3, it got really, really westernized and mainstream. I'm gonna use past tense because I did used to like BTS. I used to like EXO. I mean, it's not like I don't like them anymore, but then like
You don't go out of the way to, you don't go out of the way to listen to their music as much. Yeah.
I mean, I still have like individuals that I really, really like from those groups who can really sing and stuff. But I guess I could say Day 6 and The Rose. I can't think right now, but yeah, those two for sure.
I'm really sad that I didn't list Day 6 and The Rose. I listen to them all the time.
Good job, you guys.
But yes, I love Day 6 and I love The Rose. Check them out.
Shout out to Jay.
So like, of course I'm like a BTS fan, but I want to give a little bit of time to BAP too.
Yes.
They're definitely like, I had different phases once again, but BAP was actually the first. Sandy, you mentioned about like world tour starting. They're actually one of the first K-pop concerts that I attended, and like they were just so different from the artists that debuted around the time that they did. They had this really like grungy, hard concept that they had, and it just really stood out during the time. And like, I don't know if you listeners know who Bong Young-gook is, but his rap voice, like it's just like they had a lot of good songs too. Like I would say one of their best songs that like, and is like a personal favorite of mine, is 1004 or Chungsa or Angel. And it's just really good, and like they had a really good vocal line, and like they had a really, I would say in my opinion, a really strong rap line too, and their dancers were fantastic too. So and like their music videos had storylines and things like that, and like they were just overall a really, really great group that came from Generation 3. It's unfortunate like how they're disbanded by now, or they're on like an extended hiatus, like how a lot of I would say like a lot of Gen 3 groups or even Gen 2 groups are on at this point. But like it's just sad that what it has come to. But I would definitely say BAP is one of my favorite boy groups that came from Generation 3.
Yeah, you talked about music videos that has storyline. That's actually something that I realized they took from like second generation. I don't know if you girls realize this, but second generation had a lot of like storylines. Before it would, maybe BTS is the only third generation I feel like so does this, but second generation had a lot of storylines before it got into like an actual song. Whereas I feel like third generation, really, they get right into the dancing and the singing. So you don't really see a storyline build up. It's just really right into the music.
Also, when you guys talk about the visual for music videos, they use a lot of sets now. Whereas like the second and first gen, they do more like actual buildings and outside stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But yeah, so that's essentially what makes up the third generation. And so now we are, I want to say, at the ending of the third generation, transitioning into the fourth. We might be in the fourth, but Brianna, can you expand on that for us?
Yes, so Sandy did mention earlier that we might be in the end of Generation 3, or we could be. It's definitely a debatable topic amongst, I would say, a lot of K-pop fans. I have seen people say, yes, Generation 3 has come and go. That doesn't mean that the artists from Generation 3 aren't popular anymore. But then we have started on Generation 4. But I've heard some people say like we're in the 3.5 generation, or the ending transition phase of Generation 3. And now we're moving on into Generation 4. So this part, I thought we would just have a little bit of a discussion about like what we would like to see in Generation 4, what we hope to see with the idols, or what we hope to see with the K-pop industry as a whole for Generation 4. So my first question for you guys is that exact question. Do you guys think Generation 4 has started yet? Why or why not?
I kind of have to ponder on that question. But I think we are really kind of how I mentioned how BP was in that weird transition phase. So that's kind of how I feel like a lot of the groups are right now, in this really weird transition phase. And so I do think we are at the end of the third and just entering right into the fourth generation, because at this point you're starting to see like idols become younger and younger. And that for me kind of signifies there is a change in this industry now of idols?
I'm just gonna say yes.
Whoa.
I'm just gonna say yes.
Okay.
Cause like I don't want to be like maybe yes, no. I'm just gonna say yes, but then like I think that yes is Generation 4, but then a lot of Generation 3s are still very popular during this time. Like BTS is still very popular, EXO is still very popular, Blackpink, Twice, Monster X. I think once we were in 3, like 2, they were popular, but not as popular as the ones now. The reason why I say that Generation 4 exists today is because you already have 2,000 babies, man. You have 2,000 babies in the industry promoting, and they're like what, not maybe 20, 21, 18, 19, and
Probably younger.
13, I don't know, 13-year-olds are training. But then like you already have a lot of good new groups already, like ATEEZ, ITZY, and on and off. You have a lot of groups that are prepared or already out during this time, and it's 2020, so it's like, so I think yes,
That's a good point.
Generation 4 started with or without Generation 3.
Yeah. I agree with you. Yeah, I see where you're coming from on that. Yeah, I mean, the third generation is still very prominent, but then that's also because many of them still have years left of their contract, which that could be a whole nother topic that we can mention and talk about, is what is essentially in a contract and what is a 7-year curse, because that exists, and only a few idols from the second generation and the first generation were able to break that 7-year curse. So that would be a very interesting topic to talk about.
Because y'all said yes, I will say no. I feel like if we give it a couple more years, there will definitely be something different and something that will like help us kind of distinguish the two generations. It could be that transition too, where like they sound kind of like the same still, but it's a new generation.
Yeah, my next question for you girls is like, what have you noticed the most about the newer groups that have recently debuted? You guys kind of mentioned this, but all of the idols in these new groups, or most of them are born like 2000 and beyond, and like it makes me feel so old. Like we're not old, but a lot of these idols are at the oldest that I've seen in these new groups are like born in 1998 or like after that. So there's a lot of younger idols, and I feel like that's just how the K-pop industry is. But it's just, I've noticed a lot of younger idols, and like I'm now an older fan, I guess. An older fan, but that's something that I've noticed.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and also to mention with that, like entertainment labels will no longer take anybody that's in their 90s, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be 2000 and beyond that. So
it'll be rare to see those.
Yeah,
It's either like they've been training for a really, really long time, or what I also noticed was that like groups are starting to get bigger and bigger. Like when we used to think that Super Junior was big, there's more now.
I just have to say though, SM is the only label where you will see more than 10 people.
Oh my gosh, yes, you're right.
Because I've never seen JYP have more than 10 people, or YG. YG doesn't debut hardly anybody, but but SM, like, yeah, that's where you're seeing like these numbers go beyond 10, which is incredible. Like you can use NCT as an example. They don't have an ending number. Eventually you're going to be like AKB48. If you don't know who that is, it's a Japanese girl group that has over 300 members.
What?
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, they have like sub-units.
Yeah, but still, if you like how basically NCT is, like eventually NCT can reach like 200. I mean, I'm not trying
Oh my
to say
gosh, let's hope
but
not.
We'll give SM any ideas.
Well, it's because like it's getting so competitive. Like there's so many people who are inspired to become artists, you know?
I mentioned earlier, like third generation is like international, but like maybe the third and fourth generation, you're gonna see a lot more English speaking members.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna be on a global scale, so English is like one of the languages that's spoken a lot and around the world. So it's very important. That and Japanese and Chinese, I also see that's super important.
I think that's something to know now too, is that like global I don't want to say global fans weren't important before all these different, like before in different generations, but global fans now have a bigger impact, I would say, in terms of like getting the word out there about these K-pop groups. And that goes right into like a point of saying like their social media presence is even more important now, is because that's how they connect with their global fans. I feel like before I didn't see as much, I would say, interaction or the use of social media, but like we saw an uptick during the era, like the third generation, but now with like the fourth generation, that's going to be a requirement for a lot of these K-pop
At least
groups.
like knowing or speaking English is like a plus, kind of like on your resume. If you speak more than 2 languages, then that's good. One thing I noticed is performance, choreography, they're hardcore. Like trying to catch up with Super Junior and Sorry, I thought that was hard. But then like looking now, I'm like, I can't even do like
It's more complex.
yeah, how do you do that? How do I get there?
Yeah, I see a lot of the moves. They are really hard. And a lot of times they're on the floor. And maybe it's because I'm old now. Getting on the floor and then getting up is so hard to do.
Took me years.
Well, I'll learn something and do a cover.
Yes, Sandy, you'll have to teach us. So moving on to my next question, who do you believe will be the leaders of this new generation? Some of the current leaders, or ones that I personally believe would lead this new generation, or at least be really prominent groups, are ITZY. I don't know if you girls have heard of them, but they're a group from JYP. They're the sister group to Twice, and like in just 9 days after their debut, they won on one of the music shows, and like Dala Dala had like 14 million views in just 24 hours, and that's like a huge feat.
I agree with you on ITZY. I actually have learned Dala Dala. First, I didn't like the song, but as you keep listening to it, it's very catchy.
I also put down Eyes One.
Really?
Yeah, it's IS1. If you know who they are, they came from Produce 48. So they're a group from Survivor Show, where a lot of groups are actually from Survivor shows.
But yeah, they sold almost 200,000 copies of their debut album in the first week. I believe that set a new record for a girl debut album.
I feel like iZone is kind of like iffy with me on it, just because like they're only gonna be there for like another year or two, because that's how it is.
Yeah, their contract. I don't know. I thought there was something like this contract. They don't have a contract that actually expires. But then with the whole controversy, I don't know if you remember I don't know if you guys know about the controversy, but with that, I think they had extended date on it. But I'm not too sure because I don't really keep up with the produce shows anymore. I agree, they're very popular, but I won't get to extent of any more than that. They're just very popular because, the nation voted for them.
And then 2 boy groups that I think will be leaders are, the first one is TXT. They're the brother group to BTS. So just having them be like a brother group or be a part of the same label, I think that'll give them a great advantage. They have a really good PR team, and I think that's why they would become a prominent group within the fourth generation. And then the last one, in which I think will be a dark horse and one that I'm rooting for, is ATEEZ. Or ATEEZ. I think that they are going to be an unexpected choice, and I also think that because of their huge global fan base already, they sold out all of their shows when they had their first world tour, and that was 9 months after their actual debut. I believe. So like I believe they're going to be like a dark horse and an unexpected pick for fourth generation.
I agree with ATEEZ. At first I didn't like them, but I'm someone that I have to keep listening in order for me to enjoy the music. And so I do see them being like Brianna mentioned, a dark horse of the industry. And also being like the only group from their label. I don't know if you would put G-Idol.
I was gonna mention them.
But yeah, I would say right when they came out with La Tata, like they got really popular. And not to be mean about any of other Cuban entertainment artists, but I feel like G-Idol is that group that is very prominent to the company.
I was gonna also mention G-Idol. They made a pretty big impact. Oh yeah, there was a mention about new groups debuting from JYP, the Big Three, SM, and YG in like 2021 or 2022. So I'm looking forward to see those groups and see how they do.
Wait, YG is debuting a group?
Yeah, they are.
You know, they need to work on Treasure. I know I'm sounding petty and shady,
I think that's the group they're gonna do.
Oh, okay, because
Yeah.
you know, it's been like 2 years. I still haven't seen Treasure. So,
Yeah.
come on.
Let Ban Yi Dam out of the dungeon.
Yes, that's what I want to say. It's weird to say because he's so young, and I've been watching him since he was so young on K-pop Star.
It's
Yes.
time, my G. Let him out.
Yes.
Looking forward to what they're gonna bring to the table.
Yeah,
What about you, Nancy?
Yeah,
What do you think?
So for me, one song that I always listen to is by Everglow, the Dun Dun song.
Yeah, I was gonna wait for you to mention that.
I don't know. Okay, like I'm gonna be honest, I don't know a lot about Gen 4, and I don't really listen to Gen 4 that much because I think I'm still really stuck on Gen 2 and Gen 3. But one Gen 4 that I listen to a lot, or not a lot, but the group that I listen to is definitely ATs because I think they still give me the like Gen 2, Gen 3 vibes where they're not that they're like all cutesy and stuff, but like they're still very boom, 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 where their choreography is really good, their music is really good, and I think that they worked really hard for what they do.
Yeah, those are definitely all very good picks, and I'm looking forward to just to see who's gonna dominate the K-pop scene. I think there's still gonna be a lot of Gen 3 artists that are still very popular, but I'm definitely very excited and looking forward to see what is next. So going on to the last question I have is, what do you think is next for K-pop, or what would you like to see? I feel like we've seen a global takeover of K-pop, so I guess girls, what do you guys think is next?
Essentially more world tours. I know when idols go on tour in the US, they miss out on the Midwest a lot, and so eventually I would love for the Midwest to have more concerts because it's not just the East Coast and the West Coast that makes the US, but you have a Midwest.
Yeah, I think for me, because it is becoming a more global thing, I think it would be nice to see more people from different ethnicities or backgrounds. I get people argue that K-pop is Korean pop and da-da-da, but then I think there are very talented people outside of what they think K-pop should look like.
I think for me, I don't think it's necessarily what I hope to happen, but I think I've been seeing a lot more entertainment agencies experiment with this, but online concerts and virtual fan meetings. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I think their entertainment companies are definitely going to take advantage of the fact that you can connect with fans online. Just recently, I think SM Town, they've been holding they've been holding a variety online concerts with NCT. I think
it was
NCT,
a Super M one.
it was a Super M one. There was a Wavy one. Yeah, and then I think BTS, they're gonna have BangBangCon.
Dude, BangBangCon.
BangBangCon. They're gonna have that be a live stream event, and I think that's also in response to what is happening globally with COVID-19. But I think with them testing out these things, this is definitely something we will see in the industry using the technology that we have available to take advantage of that. So
yeah, I see where you're coming from with that because I had missed out so many concerts that I would want to go, which I wish I could have seen virtually because I missed out on PLT because, education was super important and couldn't miss that out. So I had to say education or concert, and I eventually picked education because I needed that degree, but I missed out on a lot of fun. So I see where you're coming with online concerts being more prominent and be more of a way for fans who can't go to concerts because they're doing something else or have something else planned to eventually see it.
Yeah. Me, I would still prefer going in person. I wouldn't do online. It would not work for me. But you know what I would really like to experience? SM had that virtual 3D one concert with SNSD and Shiny and them. I want to try that. It seems pretty cool. It's kind of it's the hologram one. The hologram one.
Oh.
that'd be interesting. Yeah, so I think that there's definitely going to be a lot of great artists and groups that will be debuting in this fourth generation. So I'm definitely very excited. It sounds like you girls are as well. So that wraps up our fourth generation discussion.
That's a wrap for this week's episode. We hope you learned more about K-pop and the different generations, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head on over to our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook accounts. Also, don't forget to like, share, and get involved. For today's episode, I recommend you all check out the 90s K-pop group 22's song, 1.5. This song was inspired by reggae melodies and definitely reminds you of summer. Bye for now, and thank you so much for joining us. Have a great week, everyone.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel. And we also have a playlist dedicated for each episode, so be sure to check out our Spotify.